Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. John Riggio, architect, pro golf. I said golf. You know, you probably golf too. Pro tennis. So much more he does. How are you?
Great. Thanks, Jill. How are you?
Good, thank you. Fill me in. I know you did a new update.
Video just stopped for a second. Okay, now you're back. Okay, good. So today I'm gonna talk about some more tennis stories, just to do a little finish off from a few podcasts I've been talking about in the recent weeks. And of course, they're all based off of my book. I wrote a book in 2025. It's right here. It's the life story of tennis legend John Riggio. And this includes stories about my tennis. It includes stories also about my architect profession. They were both working together. And you could buy this book on the internet. You go to Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, Thrift Books, anywhere you can buy the ebook. You could buy a hard copy of the book. You could buy a paperback, and it's easy to buy. And so today I have a few interesting points to talk about. I was talking about all kinds of things about entertainment and entertainment relationships, and for years they were matching me to get married. And unfortunately, some candidates to get married they didn't like, some they did like, and it was a little funny at some point. I think just to clarify what's happening is when I started off when I was young, I was sponsored when I was 9 years old by my pro shop with Patrick Mulrooney. And knew that I was going to become a pro tennis player because I asked my mother to buy this racket. It was a Prince racket, and I broke the racket playing with it at a young age. So they knew that I could obviously become a pro tennis player. So I was sponsored, and then slowly I was given some direction to learn how to play tennis and get into playing tennis tournaments. So in middle school, I started my tennis club, and this was a really amazing. I started this club so I could learn how to play tennis, had plenty of people to play with, and see if some people uh, um, could notice my playing, can get me into tournaments. And just amazingly, I was able to really get noticed by the tennis coach in my school. I went to middle school and high school were combined together, and he was able to really take over my tennis club. He managed the whole thing because it had to get run by the school. They didn't want me just out on the courts by myself and organizing the sports, which was an interesting lesson. I really didn't understand all the different things, but amazingly, the way I put matches together were very similar to what my tennis coach doing, and he thought I had a natural talent for that idea too. So things were really going very well with the tennis. For those two sponsors at this point, I then picked up Prince Racket Company. And then to top it off, of course, I signed the contract with my National Tennis Center, and they had their local office was located in Flushing, New York, where they have the US Open. And so I think one interesting thing, that chapter was really very good, very, very nice. As far as the marriages, I did really have an entertainment girlfriend at that time. It was my girlfriend Delilah Jew, and she was very long lasting. I knew her for a very long time since I was young at that time, all the way to the age of about 26 years old. We were the same age. Unfortunately, she did pass on, which was really a sad thing. And so some stories I've been talking about in the last chapters were really from when my contract had changed hands. It went to Richard Branson after that, which was a neighborhood friend of mine, and it was sold over to
Some friend
Gordon
to have.
Vanderbilt.
My goodness. Yep. And he's not a name dropper. He just really knows all these people because he's just that cool.
So I think the most amazing thing was at the Sutton East Tennis Center in Manhattan. This was a sort of an interesting point in my career when there was really an interesting thing of setting up a potential marriage over the years. And that's where all those stories had come through. It was really very interesting and knowing a lot of different entertainers. I think I was talking about a lot of the female entertainers. There was also some male entertainers that used to
Yeah.
stop by, different people involved with entertainment. One was Sam Asghari.
Oh,
Was
wow.
shown in the tabloids marrying Britney Spears.
Yeah.
He used to stop by there. He's very supportive. He has my tennis playing card that says
Wow.
John Riggio, and it shows the list of all of my uh, tennis wins, tournament wins, showing I'm a top tennis player. And so that is one interesting thing about that.
Wow. That is, everyone. That's the first time hearing Sam's name. And they're divorced now, right?
Yeah, I only in the tabloids I read that. I don't really know. I
Yeah.
haven't seen them in a long, long time. I don't know how things are with them. I'm assuming everything is okay. And what was happening is, I think a lot of times also all of these things heading into the sale to Mitsubishi and going with all the different top lawyers that were there, all the lawyers you see in the news. You see Michael Cohen was on one
Yeah.
of the deals, then it was Mr. Giuliani, and then there was also Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, Hillary Rodham Clinton was really always came through, and I think they always set it equal for my sponsors that how I always came through to win and how Hillary Rodham
Yeah.
Clinton always came through with all these deals, with all the different struggles with the Mitsubishi, and then
Yeah. Wow.
Tony Tapey, who was the owner of Adidas at the time, and then his friend over in Reebok took over, and then this whole thing eventually settled out with uh, no, not Gloria Vanderbilt, but Leona Helmsley.
Okay.
And but there were some other sponsors after that too. I had already mentioned, and they're in the book too. I just said the sponsors. I think there was all these interesting things. Unfortunately, some of the problems that I was happening, I think, as far as my lawyer was saying, is that there were so many different things going on that I had the most number of lawsuits and the most number of problems like that. Even some things went right to the United Nations. They have a sports court with the United Nations, and it went to the United Nations. And of course, the United Nations court, they agreed with all the different pleas that took place and everything. It was really unbelievable. So there was all kinds of interesting things going on with the
Yeah.
playing. Um, I think most importantly, I think during these years was really the struggle to make sure that there were delays in my playing weren't extended too long.
Yeah.
The idea was to continue playing, get to the tennis court, things like that, have my own tennis center. And with all the different struggles, that was one important thing because with tennis, they have an ending date of the age of 36 for an adult tennis player. Over
Wow.
that, you're really like in retirement.
Same like
You
football, except if you're Tom Brady.
Yes. So that was really one interesting thing. And so I think one thing as far as the different points that had taken place, I think there was a few different things. I think there was like these little points that I just wanted to point out.
Yeah.
I think from the last things I particularly was talking about my entertainment friend Liz. um, which amazingly went to at least 10 marriages with her. I don't know what had happened. And
Wow.
I think one interesting thing was I had was recounting some things about her mother. And I think one important thing I didn't say, but if you had watched the previous podcast, it's very interesting to know. And it was really something that was really giving me the actual proof of what had happened is when Liz was very young and I did that whole thing with helping her out from her kidnappers, and the mother came from all the way from Ohio. She picked up Liz, that was maybe only 7, 8 years old, and amazingly, they showed up at our front door.
Wow.
I was home, my mother was home, someone rang the doorbell, and I go to the front door and I see Liz next to her mother standing there. And they my mother had explained to them also that I was really the reason why Liz was helped
Oh,
out and was able to go back to her mother. And she was really very thankful. She, of course, was saying that they're so happy that she's back, and it was an amazing experience to see both of them in front of the house. So it was nice that they thanked me. That really gave me the proof of what was
yeah.
happening was successful. That she was no longer with those people, and I think it was amazing. Of course, the mother was a little bit cautious. Well,
Mm-hmm.
she had already her she is was really became a widow with this whole experience, and of course
Yeah.
the whole problems with the daughter, and so she was very cautious, and it's understandable. Of course, we invited her into the house. She didn't want to come to the house. We invited her to go over to the local McDonald's to have lunch, and of course, Liz wanted to go and have dinner
Yeah.
at the McDonald's at a young age. Everyone wants to go and have something like that. But in fact, the mother was very protective, very cautious, and really didn't want to um, go over to have the lunch with us. But they were so happy, and they said goodbye, and they drove off. And I didn't see them. I didn't expect to ever see them again. I didn't know what the story was. And just by chance, the young girl Liz, and I was young too. I was only like 15 years old. I ended up meeting her years later. I think one hard thing that I didn't mention was the this whole thing that happens. They didn't really have to head back to those people, do things with that adult industry. And the other young girl also, who was named Jaden. She also, just by chance, I ended up meeting her, and but she was very direct.
Yeah.
Jaden was very direct in telling me that she wasn't supposed to go back with those people because she was in on this whole thing when I helped Liz. I helped her, and years later, I talked to her, and she told me
Yeah.
that she did not want to go back to those people.
Yeah.
She says her parents released her back to these
Uh,
kidnappers with the adult industry,
ah.
and she was very upset. In fact, her career ideas were really to become a lawyer. That's her first pick in her career.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was very upset about that. And that was interesting talking to her, getting the feedback years later on that, which was really sad. I didn't expect something like that would really happen to someone like that. It was really sad. And so she was very upset about that. And
Ah.
um there was all kinds of stories with this. And let me just get this for a second.
Sure, sure, sure. No problem. Ever.
And so that was amazing. So I think the very interesting thing with the tennis was people coming to see me at the tennis center and everything, and it's amazing that there was a really a dollar value on all those different things. I really didn't know it at the time, but somehow there was a dollar value with people coming to the tennis center, and I
Wow.
think it's very interesting that the whole thing does revolve around money, and it was really amazing. I think the whole thing with people coming to see me and everything,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was priced very high. I think I was really the most expensive entertainer at the time. I don't think anyone was higher at the time. Um, I think the number was $6,000,
Wow.
and I don't think anyone was near that number. It was really amazing. So I think
Yeah.
that is another amazing story. And I think also this talk about the Yale, just to further explain, I think if someone was listening to the podcast, they'd wonder why would I
Yeah.
need to have someone like a girlfriend or a wife go to Yale? Why would I need to do that? No one needs to do that. Most people, they get approval to go to college. You go down all there by
Ah,
yourself and you sign up and you get your books and you go to class.
yeah.
What had happened, which was really difficult for me. It's very interesting, but the advisor I had was very nice. They did that whole thing going to all the different colleges, but it turns out the NYIT, the college I did attend, I did graduate. I graduated number one in my architecture class with the highest GPA. And but the reason why I attended that school and had difficulty switching the other ones was because of an interesting agreement they have. The president of the college at the time, Matthew Shure, he gave his vote to have me stay at NYIT.
Wow.
So I
Mm-hmm.
was like a prospect, like a sport player at that point. He wanted me to
Yeah.
stay there. It was his vote. To override
Unbelievable.
his vote, I needed one entertainer, like a Tia Ling, to get
Uh-huh.
me into Yale. So that's how this whole thing happened with the stories I was saying, where I was talking to Liz, talking to Terry, who's the official Teeling, and getting them to go to the Yale. And I think the whole thing became a mess because of this whole thing with the kidnappers doll going to the missions and blowing the whole thing out. And I have nothing to do with that kid or anything. And I had explained that he had got arrested on campus, was supposed to go to court, escorted off the court, off the campus.
Yeah.
And I think that made it where the emissions, but I was, and this was really exciting. So what was happening also with Yale is the Yale, um, where I'm living is has pretty good prestige, and a lot of times they like sport players too. So when I was doing this whole thing, even though I got accepted, for some reason it blew out into this whole thing of entertainment, sports, everything. And they asked me, do I know anyone else at that level of sports that went to Yale? And I referenced Ron Darling. He's a pitcher from the New York, did so excellent years ago. Well, at that age, I would just turn 18. Between 1985, I turned 18, and went into the year 1986. And during that year, a lot of the Met players, they used to come over to my court. They used to like to walk across the street and go over to the National Tennis Centers. They also used to drive over to my court in Jericho, New York, and Long Island. And I played a number of the New York Met players too. Some of them were very good. Some of them were into playing pro tennis. So this one particular player, Ron Darling, I played him a match. Of course, I'm the star player. He can't beat me, but very nicely, he gave me a little lesson in how to throw a baseball. And I think from those little lessons I learned from these different professional baseball players was baseball above a certain level is like tennis. You have to really go and take lessons. Like tennis, after you maybe swing the racket around yourself a little while, everyone goes to take lessons.
Yeah.
If above a certain point with baseball, you have to do the same thing. It's very easy. He was teaching me how to throw the baseball, how to grip
Yeah.
it and throw the ball, which was very nice,
Yeah.
interesting. I think I'm not as high in baseball as tennis, but it was always nice to learn and get that interesting experience of how to play the baseball. And he was there, and I think just by chance him having his admission into Yale and then playing at that level with the pros with the tennis also put together this thing where I referenced his name, and it checked out. There was no problems with the reference. I mean, it was an obvious fact. But they just were doing that to see if I was somehow in a group of people that any of them were going to Yale at all and things like that. And they were very strict with all those things. So I have Ron Darling's bio. Let me see what I got here. Got a share here. Okay, let me see where it is. Okay, let me just do this for a minute. Let me just open. I thought I had opened it. Okay, that's good. Okay, there it goes. Okay, now let me open it again.
You there? Am I losing you?
Yes, I
Good.
just had to just get that on the screen.
Okay. No problem. No
Okay,
problem.
there it is. Okay, so this guy, he's
And
this
don't
is
forget, we got 3.5
bio.
minutes. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off.
This is his
Ron
public bio,
Darling. Hey, I know him.
and
Wow.
he has an amazing bio here. So I think this
Yeah.
goes back, and it says very specifically some dates here: 1985, 1986, and so this is when he had stopped over at my court, played some tennis within the tour, and
Mm-hmm.
got a few pieces of information from him. That's about it.
Yeah.
And but this is the kind of people I'm playing with. He's top player in baseball, coming over to play the top players in tennis. And this is the sort of the story, what's happening here.
Yeah.
So this here just shows the basic things. I think this shows in the 1980s. Let's see, 1983, 1983, 1985. Okay, here. So 1985. So this whole thing took place between 1985 and
Okay.
1986, somewheres around there. Probably when there was little breaks of good weather, and that's when we played here. And this was his bio. So this is who it is. I don't know if everyone knows this player these days. Years ago, I think everyone knew him, and so he's another player, like any type of sport player. I play with him in person on the field, then I see him on TV. You know, baseball is very big with
Yeah.
television. Everyone watches it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the number one game in the USA. And so this is what was happening with that. And so this is the kind of people I was playing with. I was playing with the top athletes playing in other sports. And so the whole thing with the Yale, that reference worked very good. It's very simple. It wasn't too complicated. I mean, that was really one amazing thing that was happening.
Yeah.
And just by chance, my wife ended up making friends with his wife because we both lived in Flushing, New York City. That
Oh my gosh.
was really very interesting. So that's pretty good. And but I think in my originally in my marriage, I didn't that particular marriage, I didn't really talk too much about any pro things or anything. It just started to slowly get in there after I started to play a little more tennis at the local courts. The things start to come back, and that was really what was amazing. And and I think the last point, also given all these
Oh.
stories about my marriages and everything, I wanted to piece in, if we have 2 seconds here.
Go ahead. Go
Was, would you
ahead.
believe it, the Liz's mother, who at some point thanked me, so happy, then hated
Oh.
me, didn't want to ever see me,
And
rather
hated me.
die.
Stop. You're so funny.
We ended up doing something like another marriage ceremony with me and Liz and her,
Oh.
saying about, because she felt so guilty about giving
Yeah.
Liz back to those people at an
Yeah.
older age. She did not look happy, and so I felt sorry for her, and I was trying to make better friends with her,
Yeah, of
back
course.
calling her mama, and we did a little marriage ceremony, but I think it was because she felt so guilty over the years at that point that she gave Liz back to those people, that she was very unhappy. And of
Yeah.
course, I tried to, we were all good friends there, so that was one happy point.
Great.
that had happened over the years. So that is one interesting thing I wanted to point out, is that that is part of our 10 marriages that we had together.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, John. John, how do we contact you?
Sure. You can go onto my webpage, www.johnriggio.com. I'm also on different social media. I'm on Facebook, John Riggio Pro Tennis Player, and I have a lot of information there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate you. And again, sign up on the website, go to the webpage, and looking forward to hearing more stories. You never cease to amaze me. And when is the second book coming out? Is there going
Yeah,
to be a
I'm still
part two?
promoting my book and
I
showing it
know,
to
I
the
know,
book swaps. Everything's going really excellent with that.
I know. Well, congrats,
And the
sweetheart.
weather has warmed up, so I'm back on the court last weekend. We're all back learning tennis, playing tennis. I had pictures, I uploaded them to the meetup site. Everyone's back learning tennis, and everything is good.
Enjoying the beautiful weather. All right. Thank you so much, John. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.